right, so welcome back to the Jason and Peely Project. Super excited for today's guest. We have LeadSmith. Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Hey, good, Jason. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And I'm looking at Ryan, and behind him, he's got a really accomplished bookshelf with a lot of reads here. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. But Ryan began his career in the Marine Corps with over 10 years of experience in the intelligence community. He's now the founder of a company called LeadSmith, and LeadSmith is a data-driven marketing company that specializes in increasing the return on investment for real estate investors and house flippers. So, Ryan, this is awesome, and we connected through a great friend, Bill Allen, and I can see why, right? Because you're using your experience through the Marines, going into intelligence to now help people with that data point that so many times they're missing in their business, right? So how has the Marines allowed you to adapt a mentality to help put forth the best information so people can choose the best results?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, as more and more people enter the investing space, if you go back, I don't know, five plus years ago, there weren't as many people doing it. And I mean, you could just kind of throw money out there. And even if your tactics weren't the best, you can still get results. But as more and more people enter into the space, I think you have to be smarter, and you can't just, mail everybody in a zip code or anything like that anymore. And I think data becomes a much stronger part of the whole process. So what we found was, when you start digging into the data, there's a lot of information out there that is extremely useful that most people don't pay attention to, don't know how to get. And so, our big thing is taking a little bit more time on the front end, finding that information that gives us an advantage instead of just, blindly throwing money at the marketing.
And that's a lot of times how real estate investors operate, right? They're just guessing and sending out letters based on a zip code or a hope of a house. Was there a part in your career or your path that drove you to the point to saying that I can't find the data tools or the data points I'm looking for, and I'm going to really provide this and look to do this for myself, and then realized it was something that other people may need as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started wholesaling by myself as a one-man show, and Bill was in my market, and Bill's marketing budget far exceeded my marketing budget, and I needed to find a way where I could still be successful with a lot smaller budget than what he had. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to, to do marketing, it's either going to take time or money or a combination of both. And I had more time than I had money. So I said, well, I'm going to have to dig in deeper, go after some of the stuff that he's not going after and seeing. And then that way I can be successful as well. So yeah, absolutely. So what we found was even with a much, much smaller budget, we were able to still be successful, find deals. And, a lot of the deals have some really big spreads on them because they're not really talking to everybody and their brother since we're going that extra step to get the data. So absolutely. So we had done that for a long time. I teamed up with Bill and worked for him for 2 or 3 years. And then, I had decided to start this company, and I said, well, why don't we just do this all over the country and help people in all markets? So that's kind of how we got here.
What do you find is some of the pieces that most investors are generally missing when they're coming to you? When they come to you and they say, hey, listen, we want to get better data. What is their marketing campaigns lacking on the forefront?
Yeah, so a couple things. A lot of times, I think a lot of people, and I've been guilty of this before too, I think a lot of people in the industry have shiny object syndrome, and they hear like the latest tactic, and now they want to point all their resources that way. I think that one thing that a lot of people overlook, and I plan on getting deeper into this next month, but one of the big things that a lot of people do is they're just not consistent. They don't pick. What I want to do is I want to go in there, I want to find a source of data, let's call it a niche, and I want to dominate that specific niche. I think a lot of people get bored and they get tired of doing the same thing over and over again, and then they hop on to something else. And I think that's the biggest issue that a lot of people have. The other thing is where to find the data. That's another issue that they have. And then the other issue is, okay, now that we know where to find the data, how do we create a system around that so that we can consistently pull that data on a regular basis and then market to those people? So kind of getting that whole trifecta in order seems to be the biggest issue with a lot of companies.
Boredom is one of the best ways to make money, right? So consistency of just keeping to the approach, and you're absolutely right. Most people fall at that point because they'll do it one time and they'll give up, right? But for marketing, generally it's somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, between the fifth, sixth, seventh touch for you to be able to at least start that conversation. And I would look at it from the other component. If I was the person getting a letter in the mail and I just saw it one time, or I see it and start to see that brand over and over and over, then I might be more familiar with them and be easier to speak to on the phone. For yourself and your business, would you say that starting and finding your niche also helped you because it allowed you to eliminate what you don't want?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we can really get very specific on what we want to target. And we don't, we're not, especially when you work with companies that, for instance, let's say that they don't wholesale at all and they only want to flip. I mean, they have very specific criteria that they want to use to find houses that they are willing to flip. With wholesale, it's pretty easy. If you don't want the property yourself, you can find a buyer for it. But yeah, I mean, it really allows you to dive in and find exactly the type of stuff that you're wanting to find.
Interesting. So here, when you're really bringing LeadSmith to the forefront, what is separating it from the other analyzing or data-driven tools on the market?
So I do think that there are some other tools out there, and some of them work well. I think that one thing that a lot of people are not willing to do is, I think that the approach that a lot of people take is they find huge data sources, and they pull or buy or whatever, they buy lots of data at one time, where, our approach is, if I have to go to a website and do some work and I only get 10 different leads out of that website, I'm going to do it just because it's worth my time. So I think that that's the big differentiator between what most people do and what we do. But the thing is that, with a lot of these companies, the business owners are wearing multiple hats. They're trying to do 10 different things at once, and they don't really have time to go in there and do all that, kind of super focused work.
And it's key too, right, to have the focused list, because when you look at it from a point of someone wearing multiple hats, generally you become the bottleneck. So if you're getting this giant list that you're mailing out, and now you go from no calls to hundreds calls or 100 calls or even 25 calls, just think of that. Now you have maybe 10 appointments. Well, now you're the person dragging back from your team, where if you could go in there and find, like you said, stand out from Bill, who has a large team around them, where you can find 10 leads, where you can really put your attention, and you wouldn't have to cut that check that may be, thousands of dollars between list and mailing. That's a recipe for success, right? It's not always it's not always having like the email list with 20,000 people. I mean, you might have 1,000 people, 800 people, 600 people that can really, which you can do so much for, right? You can do so much with.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's the same as like the buyer's list. It doesn't matter how big your buyer's list is. It matters how many good buyers you have on it. So absolutely. I completely agree.
All right. So, Peely and I are all about large multifamily, but we are here today because there was an event that kicked off our real estate career, and we want to bring it to you.
It is called Flip Hacking Live. I know the name says flipping, but hear us out. This was the quintessential event that kick-started our careers in real estate.
So it gave us everything we use today. It gave us marketing, how to talk to investors, how to really build our base and build our team that we use today to really do what we do in large multifamily. And that's why we're bringing you this special discount. If you go to Flip Hacking Live today and you put in JP, tickets which just went up to $397. Well, they're going to give you $100 off that we're going to pay for because that's how much we believe in this event.
So go there, go to the link, click on it, learn about it, and go to this event. You will not be sorry.
Let's do this. Yeah, I see. And we did some of this in the past, but generally for your buyers list, you could have as many people as you want, but if you actually looked at your buyers list, you may have like 5 people that are buying all the deals, right? So I got 50,000 people on my buyers list, and you only really need 5, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
1,000 true friends. So
yeah.
Well, we have an exciting event. You said talking next month here. We have Flip Hacking Live coming up, which is a dynamic event. I actually, truth be told, I got to go to the first one.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, out in San Diego. And that was my whole connection to meeting the team, meeting the group out there. And it's been, we've just created so many great friendships from it. So you're going to be in a great part. What's going to be the theme through your presentation?
Yeah, so what I'm going to talk about is, I think, over the next probably 6 to 9 months, I think there's going to be some huge opportunities coming with everything going on in the economy and everything else. There's going to be some huge opportunities as far as, wholesalers and flippers and things like that go. So what I'm going to talk about is laying out a plan for the next 6 to 9 months of exactly what I'm going to be focusing on in my business as far as marketing, and lay out a plan that's going to show you exactly how to capitalize on this unique period of time that we're coming up upon.
Amazing. Well, give us a teaser. What are one of those data points that probably wasn't on the radar 6 or 8 months ago that maybe you're going to really put a lot of attention in going forward?
Yeah. So one of the ones that I think that you should start working on right now is mortgage lates. So you can get mortgage late list 30, 60, 90 days. Those are lists that are a little bit harder to get because they only come from the credit bureau when they're reported as late payments. And I'm not saying that today you're going to be buying houses off that list, but what we want to do is we want to start building relationships with those people. So when that time comes, like you had mentioned earlier, getting in front of them multiple times, trying to get up to that 7-point touch. They're not ready today, but whenever that day comes and that event happens where they're like, okay, I got to do something, you want to be top of mind. So we're going to position ourselves to be that person when that time comes. And it's going to come for a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's not an if, it's a when, unfortunately. But at least if you can help the narrative on that side, it's going to be dynamic. Does that mortgage late also, and I don't know if you know this answer, but it just came to mind, like if someone put themselves into forbearance, would that also show up in that same list, or is that a different tracking way?
I think that would fall under a different tracking. I'm not 100% sure on that, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I think the mortgage late's a great place to sit, because there's all different kinds of ways that it's going to be captured. But if someone gets to the point where now they have to catch up, and typical, 50% or more of America is working paycheck to paycheck, that's just a tall order. So having this list where you can help them and get in front of them, that's going to be just a huge thing. And you're going to be there talking on a group of just really dynamic speakers, and just talking about the data, the marketing, the building the brand, the building the team. I mean, there's going to be so much bang up energy there. So I'm really excited to see everything come together here. For LeadSmith itself, how is the best point for people to reach out for you and to learn more about the service, or what is usually the factors that they have to bring to you for you to give them the best idea of what service you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as contact goes, you can go to our website. It's leadsmithre.com, LEADSMITHRE.com. You can also email us, Ryan, RYAN, at leadsmithre.com. Typically, as far as working together, we have a couple different packages. One of them is a done-for-you marketing service. For people that are interested in that, a couple different qualifications. I like for the person to have some experience. So, just so when those leads come in, they know what to do. They know how to close deals. And the other thing is, we're going pretty deep on the data. So we need a large enough area to concentrate on, to pull up, to create a good list for you. So I would say that, we need at least a decent population to do that, just off the top of my head, roughly at least 200,000 people kind of in an area to do it. Most areas have at least that number of people, but every once in a while, there's some really small areas, and they'd probably be better off just kind of mailing everybody. Their areas are so small. So.
Awesome. Well, I got a few questions that, I guess would rely on real estate, but what's been one of the biggest learning lessons from your years, and thank you for this, in the Marines that you bring forward to your business today?
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for saying that. So I think that, we had chatted for a second before we got on this call. And, I think that mindset is one of the most overlooked pieces in the entire, in life, whether it be life in the military, life in business, your personal life. I think that there's so much there as far as mindset goes, that if you're not concentrating on it, you're missing a huge piece of the puzzle.
In regards to someone who doesn't have maybe a military background or mindset's a new arena for them, what are some key takeaways that they have to be cognizant of just in their daily life?
Sure. So one of the big things is we all have, our subconscious mind kind of runs our day-to-day life, and a lot of us have limiting beliefs that we picked up from childhood, and it's just part of life. And one of the ones you'll commonly hear about is money. A lot of people have limiting beliefs about money, and without spending too long on it, you'll hear things like money doesn't grow on trees, money's the root of all evil, stuff like that when you're young. And that kind of stuff plays a role when you get older, and you have these negative feelings towards money. So, for the longest time, I never grew up in that environment. I didn't have those things, so I thought, I don't have any negative programming with money. But the more you look into it, there's different levels to it. I may not have that, but I also saw people around me, and they always felt like the bottom was about to fall out. Like there's always going to be like this huge problem that's about to occur and things like that. And, it wasn't until I dug deeper and realized that all those things control your actions going forward. So the first thing is identifying what those things are. And the second thing is correcting them. And, I use money as an example, but I mean, you could use that in any topic. We all have that kind of stuff in everything. So, there's been a lot of growth that I've had to do because I've had limiting beliefs on a lot of different things, or just character flaws that I needed to fix. And you got to identify them and then fix them.
One of the things that you said here is that character flaws and other parts is just having the awareness within yourself that ultimately there's always two sides. You could say that everything's going to be destroyed right now, or you could say I have clean drinking water right here, fresh air, healthy kids, and look at that point, even if maybe you are having monetary problems, right? And because I find that the focus on the problem never provides a solution, right? But the problem's just going to persist and is going to eat you away. And I've gone through my own learning lessons to find that. But it's a continuing. It's just like anything, right? So we were talking about the running. Like if I stopped running, in a couple months, I won't be able to run and do what I did, right? So it's the same thing with the mind. If you don't continually work on it, well, the mind finds its way to go back to what's familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I completely agree.
What's your favorite book that you always go back to, or you're reading now with this awesome book collection you have behind you?
So I have a weird one. This is probably not one that's going to be mentioned anytime else, but one that I really, really liked that was a big game changer for me is called The Game of Life and How to Play It.
What's that about?
That is, it's about becoming aware of the thoughts that are going on in your mind when you're not necessarily thinking about anything, and basically reprogramming your thoughts when you do have a negative thought, replacing it with a positive one, and that become the script that goes in your head rather than this negative stuff that happens all the time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that's key, right? It's just recognizing it and labeling it and just calling it out. So it's first and foremost in your thought. Well, I'm excited to see what's going to happen at Flip Hacking Live. I'm excited to see more of your story, really hear the message, you hear all the other points on data, because you're absolutely right. There's going to be a ton of people that are going to be in a rough spot, and you could help them to find that solution for their next part by giving them the best data there. So did intelligence choose you, or did you choose intelligence when you went into the military?
Yeah, I chose intelligence. I wanted to get in there, and you know, when I got in there, I wanted to do human intelligence, and you know, that wasn't what I ended up with. I ended up in signals intelligence, which is a lot more data driven. And
what's the difference for someone who doesn't know, myself?
So human intelligence would be like the CIA. That would be like getting information from other people, basically. And then signals intelligence is using, using signal information to get intelligence, basically, without going too crazy into it. But so yeah, it's a lot more techie on the signal side. So I always, you know, from a young age, you know, when I was born, the internet wasn't around, but when I got to be a teenager or a young adult, one thing that I kind of had a knack for was finding stuff on the internet. But I never knew how to monetize it. You know, I could find good deals on different things and stuff like that. And then once I got into the military, I used that skill there to find stuff. And then when I got out, that's when I was able to put two and two together and figure out a way to actually provide value to the marketplace using that skill set.
See, that's one of the best stories about, you know, finding your entrepreneurial spirit, right? So you use what you've learned and now you relate it to your cause. And so really awesome, really excited what you're doing. I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Jason, thanks so much for having me. It was great chatting with you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. And to everyone listening, thank you very much. Make sure you go over and check out Flip Hacking Live. I know there's tickets. They got a pretty large amount of them sold, but go over and check it out. I think it is fliphacking.com, but check it out there. You got not only Ryan Smith, but you have Bill Allen, you have Terry Berger, you have Andy McFarland. You just have a ton of really high level players that are going to be speaking that day. So go for it, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Join us for your second cup of coffee every Monday through Friday at noon.
Live every day, bringing us our best content we've done so far. Super excited, super engaging, bunch of great guests. We're here to answer your questions, and we so appreciate you listening. Make sure to check this out.
Can't wait to see you.